Last night, it was a marathon city council meeting, one of the most highly anticipated public meetings in a long time, I think.
How long did this meeting go? When I was speaking with Adam on the show yesterday, he said he was planning on maybe being there till midnight.
It went past midnight. It went. I think the meeting started. Well, the city council meeting starts at 7.
Sure.
And they didn't start that until about 20 minutes after, and then it was like a good 3.5 hours past that. So it was probably pretty close to midnight before they got out.
So I'm at like 11 now.
Yeah.
With the math you've given me.
Yeah, well, anyway.
Hey, anybody that was there, I know we have listeners that were there.
Yeah.
Tell us what it was like, how long you were there. Give us a call, 721-1290. We'd love to hear a little bit of feedback on what you thought of the drama down there.
I do have some excerpts. Obviously, I probably recorded a good hour and a half of the testimony, because I had to leave for a while, do some other things. But I gleaned some things from the time that I had a chance to really listen. So let me just go ahead and grab these for you. These the first cut we're going to hear is from is a woman from the Moms Demand Action for Sensible Gun Laws, I think is what it's called. She supports the ordinance, and we also have a representative from the National Rifle Association who is opposed. So let's hear the pro-ordinance comment first.
Was introduced, we've been out talking to people, and we've gathered almost 1,200 signatures on a petition supporting the ordinance, and we have support from a large number of community leaders who signed a letter that you have received in support of background checks.
Okay, now here's the gentleman from the National Rifle Association.
You see, the killer in Oregon purchased his firearm from a licensed dealer after undergoing a background check. Just like in Seattle, Washington, Tucson, Arizona, Virginia Tech, Aurora, Colorado, Fort Hood, Texas, virtually every one of the high-profile mass killings, the deranged individual went through a background check.
You know, those were the two individuals who, kind of spoke for and against officially for the ordinance. But then there were, at least 300 people there in the city council chairs. Not all of them had a chance to speak, obviously, but a whole bunch of folks did. But we do have City Councilor Adam Hertz joining us on the phone right now. Adam, good morning, sir.
Morning.
How's it? Do you have toothpicks in your eyelids right now, or how late were you?
I'm not sure I should say good morning. It hasn't been a really good morning. I went to bed at about 1:30.
Oh, how late did the thing go last night?
I think it ended around 11:30.
11:30. Okay. Cool. So what was your impression? Was it? I did notice as I was listening back that at one point I believe Marilyn Marler had to take a 5-minute recess because there were signs in the audience and they had to straighten all that out. What happened there?
Yeah, there were a lot of passionate people that came for public comment, and it got a little heated early on, but then everything was under control. There were good comments and passionate arguments from both sides, really, and it was just good to hear from the public on this issue.
So I wanted to get your take. Did you feel like a lot of the people there were representing Missoula, or were these out-of-state interests, or what?
You know, I got the sense that most folks there were from Missoula, the city and the county. There were a couple people from out of state, and there was actually a funny moment when one city council member tried to make an issue out of the NRA's lobbyists being from out of state, which is funny because that city council member happens to be a sponsor of this ordinance. She's originally from Massachusetts, and the other two sponsors are from California, so I'm not really sure we want to play that game with the city council, considering nearly all of them are from out of state.
By the way, I did notice that 2 of the candidates for city council this election cycle don't have Missoula phone numbers yet.
Yeah, it's really interesting how much influence our city council has from out of state. I'm not sure that people quite realize that, but there's a lot of outside interest, and I think they're shaping our city in a way that I don't think is very positive. But unfortunately, I'm not sure that the voters have caught on to that yet.
I kind of see the handwriting on the wall, Adam, with some of the prior votes, and of course the fact that Marty Rabine, the city clerk, said before the meeting there were like 330 messages in favor of the ordinance and like 79 opposed. And so as you look forward to November 2nd, we're probably going to have the vote. Can you give us I don't know, a prediction or what?
Well, yeah, I mean, I see the writing on the wall as well, and I think the city council is going to move forward with this ordinance ultimately. It may see some minor tweaking here and there, but I do expect it to pass, which is unfortunate because it's sure to end up in a lawsuit and cost the city a heck of a lot of money that could be spent on things that I find my constituents asking for, which is for streets to be plowed and potholes to be filled and police officers to have a presence in their neighborhood.
Now, Adam, for folks who don't know, what is the fundamental flaw in this ordinance that the lawsuits may stem from?
The absolutely fundamental flaw in this ordinance is that it violates state statute, which clearly and unambiguously says that cities do not have the right to regulate the sale or transfer of firearms.
All right. Even though the city attorney gave an opinion, although it was an informal opinion, that they do.
Well, he backtracked from that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he backtracked, but he didn't even really need to backtrack because if you read the opinion, it really had nothing to do with this ordinance. His opinion stated that cities have the ability to prevent felons and the mentally adjudicated from owning, possessing firearms. That the statute right before that clearly says that cities cannot regulate the sale or transfer. So he actually never really weighed in on the ordinance itself. And so last night I actually formally requested a city attorney legal opinion on this ordinance, and it'll be interesting to see what it says.
And just like that, our lines are full. So you and I can just go home now.
Yeah, we can. Well, the robots have taken over, clearly.
Anyway, so we're talking about the public meeting last night, the Missoula City Council chambers. It was absolutely packed, over 300 people, I understand.
Yeah.
I kind of watched it from home because, I have a kind of an early waked-up time. So I followed it on the streaming system they did, which was great, and it worked awesome. So
it is pretty awesome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, so it is open phones basically today. You can talk about whatever you want. By the way, so yesterday this Save Palestine graffiti on the federal courthouse, they had lockdown in the area for a few hours as they were checking it out.
Speaking of robots, yeah.
In my story that I did on that, I have a picture of the weird graffiti that was on the door.
Right.
If you want to check that out and tell me what the heck it means, it'd be great. Because I'm kind of into all these weird symbols and stuff, and I can't figure it out. So if anybody knows, feel free to call us at 721-1290.
It's a puzzlement. All right.
It is.
Catherine, you're on Talkback. Hi.
Okay, just a couple of little things. The first one is, how do we know that the number of supporters that the City Council says for opponents and or supporters is actually correct? That's an alleged thing. There's no way of knowing.
Well, I know, but I think what they're doing is Adam Hertz said in the story that he got like 30 different letters. They were all exactly the same. Obviously came from one source, and so if that happened to all of the city councilors, well, what's 30 times 12? So,
right. Okay. About enforcement, I'm kind of tired of the city council passing ordinances that cannot be enforced, yet they criminalize citizens. It engenders a disrespect for law and turns citizens into scofflaws, and it increases eventually the gray and the black markets. And this occurs when, of course, states and governments try to put the screws to citizens. Prime example these days is New York City, because they tax their cigarettes so high that people bring them in from New Jersey and sell them. They're in the black market. And of course, the historical event in this country is Prohibition, which really grew the criminal element, didn't it?
It sure did.
Yeah. Also, there's no way to do this without vastly increasing enforcers. And if you vastly increase the police force or forcibly register firearms, which would pretty much necessitate going from house to house eventually, or increasing drone surveillance. And I mean, those are eventual things. The technology's there.
Or Catherine, if I may just insert, what I think their true, what the real intent is to drive gun dealers out of Missoula altogether, so that people just can't buy guns, which I think is what they really want.
That may or may may not be true. However, what it does then is increases the number of people who become criminalized, doesn't it?
One would think so, yes.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever read Atlas Shrugged. That's kind of one of my touchstone books, I suppose.
Sure.
By Ayn Rand. There's a little blurb in there where one of the bureaucrats is explaining things to Mr. Reardon, who is the capitalist ironmonger, and who's standing athwart their efforts to completely control business. And he says, we pass laws because we don't pass them to actually enforce the law. We want people to be breaking the law because that's how you control them. The more laws that you have, the more people that are criminalized, the more you can control them. That's the game.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, Catherine.
Thanks.
Thanks
Bye.
for the call. Appreciate that. Go ahead.
Got a question off Facebook. Maybe you know the answer. That's from Claire. She wants to know, why wasn't Engen there?
I'm not sure. He was at home. He may have been ill. I'm not sure why. But if he was ill, Mr. Mayor, we certainly wish you well, and hopefully you'll recover quickly. Okay, let's move on. I do not know why he was there, but I must surmise that something was going on that kept him out. So let's get Bruce on the line. Bruce, good morning. You're on Talkback. Hi.
Hey, good morning, guys. I'd just like to know how much the city paid some out-of-state polling firm to conduct this little poll as to the approval rating of this supposed ordinance.
I don't know that the city did pay for a poll. I think that the poll was paid for probably by Bloomberg's groups.
I think it was, a Colorado-based company or something like that.
No, he's out of New York.
Well, I'll tell you what. No, the Colorado-based company was the one that did the water poll.
Right.
But I'll tell you this. It's really hard to find the poll. If the city had it, they would have released the background on the poll, all the questions that were asked and the specific returns like the last time. With the Colorado poll, for example, you can go find our old stories about it. You can go and look up what the poll results were and how many people got asked and where they lived, all that jazz. But with this one, I couldn't find almost anything. I even went to the site looking for this particular poll, and I couldn't find the data. So maybe all 365 of these, quote, Missoulians, end quote, were the same ones that sent in letters to city council. I don't know.
What Marty Raby was talking about was the letters of support and the letters of opposition city council had received.
Well, that's also close to the total amount of people polled in the poll.
Exactly.
Well, I smell a stinky fish out there.
All right, Bruce, thanks for the call, man.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Everybody wants to talk about the meeting last night. Emmett, go ahead.
Oh, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I was at that meeting, and I haven't seen such a packed meeting or ruckus meeting since the equality ordinance. I wonder, is this an out-of-state group, the Moms Against Gun Violence?
Yes, it is.
They're out of New York.
Oh, man, they don't even live here. I don't know why they were allowed to speak when they don't even live here.
No. There are local people who joined this organization because they'd already had a structure to help fight this sort of thing. I think that's what it was all about.
They're a nationwide group, a nonprofit that promotes changing America's gun laws.
Interesting, yeah, because I saw the T-shirts, the buttons, but it was interesting. They came early. It's almost like they were bussed in, and it's like they went to the front of the lines immediately to speak. Me and some other, the people that were for the Second Amendment were just standing, and when there was kind of a break for 5 minutes because they wanted to call to order, when they went back, they just all rushed back in. It's that typical liberal way, push everybody out of the way so I can speak. The other people, and we had to stand for hours after I spoke. I finally had to go home because I was just too dead tired. I would have willing to sit there for until 7 a.m.
So, Emmett, what was the essence of your comment?
Yeah, what did you say?
Basically, it seems like this is rigged by liberals. This is so planned. It doesn't feel like a grassroots thing. And also, I agree with you, John, that there's some seats that are going to flip. Probably a lot of people are going to get fired, win the elections. But I get the sense that those people whose seats will be flipped won't really care, because they're falling on the swords for their cause.
Well, half of them have quit anyway. I mean,
Good.
we have a huge shakeup at City
Well,
Council
yeah,
simply because everyone is quitting their jobs.
Well, you have to wonder how much of it has to do with Mountain Water, how much of it has to do with this particular issue.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah.
They're all falling on their swords, and I don't think
and
they
it
ever
could be
regret
they're sick and tired of missing Monday Night Football. That's
Yeah,
that's
definitely,
one
but-
reason I would never run for city council. You're going to take up every Monday night? Are you crazy? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Anyway, this seemed so rigged. It just seemed, and they were so rude. I guess what I'm trying to say is the moms against, this gun violence, they just wanted to pack us, just crowd us out to make us exhausted. And even they got out this, little stuff, the zoning stuff out of the way first that took on forever when they should have just put this at the forefront and maybe gotten to that other stuff next week. It seemed like a rigged game.
The zoning stuff's pretty big deal, actually.
They had to go by their agenda, which was published in advance. They had to do that. So.
Right.
All right.
Emma, we got to run.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. We have a line open, 721-1290. Warren, you're on Talkback. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My comments have to do with Hayes' remarks yesterday. I heard that. I know who he is, and I know when I was in business, I did business with him almost daily, and I don't know of a more honest, intelligent man in Missoula than Hayes. And he said what he wanted to say. He had it prepared. He was there, and he presented the truth. And
Hayes is the gentleman who runs the Missoula Gun Show, right?
That's right.
Okay,
now,
gotcha.
when you take somebody who's taken on that program, and if you were there even this year, it was run in such an efficient, productive manner. The whole thing was just top-notch, and he's been that way ever since I've known him. And like I said, I don't know of a more patriotic, more intelligent man than Hayes. And I was really glad to hear him speak because I couldn't have done that good a job. And he knew what he wanted to say, and he said it. And
So did he say something similar to what he said on Talkback yesterday?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're just talking about what he said on our show.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
Was he
right.
able to speak at City Council too?
I think he did, but I was not there.
Okay.
But I'm referring to what he said yesterday on Talkback. It just was so enlightening by a man who's qualified.
All right. Well, Warren, we sure appreciate your call, sir.
You bet.
Have a great day. And that means we have two lines open, 721-1290. If you want to talk about this or anything else.
Now, I know Hayes was on Talkback yesterday. He did have a great segment with him. If you want to call in, Hayes, if you're out there listening, we'd love to get your feedback, what you saw, if you were able to speak. I know you said they were only going to give you 3 minutes, but
he was at the meeting yesterday because I saw his picture in the newspaper, but I do not know if he had an opportunity to speak because there were so many. And, of course, you have your place in line, I guess.
And what reason would City Council have of listening to the guy that runs the gun show?
No.
I mean, that would just be foolish to get both sides.
Yeah,
I mean, that'd be crazy.
All right, now just relax. Let's get Susan on the line. Good morning, Susan.
Well, I was there too, and I don't think I left past 10 o'clock because I was one of those really ostracized people that had the audacity of living in the county. So they absolutely did not want me to speak, and I kept getting pushed farther and farther behind, and I didn't.
Now, can I ask you? I want to know how this thing worked. Did the people from the Moms, whatever it was, group, did they literally push people out of the way,
No,
or how did that work?
I got there extremely early because I knew it was going to be crowded, and I sat down before some of the other people arrived, and what really annoyed me is they had their fancy little T-shirts, which really were signs that had been given by Mr. Bloomberg of New York City, and they had their little buttons and their signs on their chests, but anybody that came in supporting the Second Amendment could not have any signs.
Well, I
they
understand.
weren't allowed to have anything.
I understand they actually had to pin the signs on their chest to make it look like a T-shirt.
Correct. Yeah, it was ridiculous. And
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't do that. I thought that was stupid. I wore my benefactor, life member, NRA pin on my shirt, but I never got up to speak because by the time it was past 10 o'clock, and I don't think Hayes ever spoke because he is a county member. I don't think he's a county resident. So I don't think he ever. I don't know.
City folk got the primary spots.
Yeah.
But what struck me by this was the absolute communistic, anti-American, delusional behavior of the people that spoke in favor of this ordinance, which was very poorly written and had loopholes that were the size that a Mack truck could drive through. And, I'm just horrified, not surprised, but very horrified at, the city council. I'm constantly amazed at how utterly liberal Missoula is, and I'm continually shocked at why I live here.
All right, Susan, thanks for the call.
Okay, goodbye.
We're going to take a little break, so go ahead, John.
Well, I just wanted to point out, so remember when the ordinance with the Shriners was up?
Right.
They gave the Shriners more than 3 minutes to come and talk because they were going to be directly affected by the ordinance.
Sure.
They have not granted that same platform for the gun show.
Was that because the Shriners were a nonprofit organization and the gun show?
The gun show is a nonprofit.
Are you sure? Is it really? Okay, but we have some Facebook comments.
Yeah, Mitchell says, "Dude, where's your guns? The city council would have had more tangible results if they passed a resolution to take guns away from those using marijuana. That's actually against federal law." Jeannie says, "Were the studies by John Lott in his book More Guns, Less Crime brought up by people at the meeting?" I
do not know.
And then we got another post here from, I think his name is Grant, and he says basically that maybe there wasn't a lot of one side because people have given up on city government.
It could be. I can certainly understand that. Let's get back to the phones. Don's been waiting very patiently. Sir, good morning.
Well, good morning. I got 3 points if I could make them. One is I am in support of it, that the people that do not want to have the guns that they put on their front lawns, that they don't have any guns in their home signs. And second is Sheriff Clark he's out of Milwaukee, he's a sheriff in Milwaukee County. He had a great speech at the NRA convention this year. And ironically enough, today there is a lawsuit to one of the gun stores in Milwaukee, millions of dollars. So what they're doing is they're just trying to go in through the back door to shut everything down. So they're working at suing the people that sold the guns that shot a sheriff. And then the other thing is people don't understand we are the last free country in the world, Western civilization, to own private firearms. And I'm not looking at old history, with Hitler, and everybody compares the way things were back in the Stalin days. You can look, Netflix has a great documentary on, it's called Winter on Fire, and it's what just happened in Russia and Kiev 2 years ago. And to show the brutality of what happened with the police on the people was just absolutely phenomenal. And this is modern day stuff, and it can happen here.
All right. Well, I sure appreciate your call. Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Elena, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I wasn't there, but I watched the whole thing. I suffered through it, watching it online. It ended around 11:14. I took notes to your question about Hayes. He did testify.
He did. Good. Okay. All right.
At the end, and it was 3 minutes. He tried to push it, but they wouldn't allow it.
All right.
I kept notes, as I said, and from what I gathered, there was 30 people there that were pro, and there was 38 that was against, that testified. As far as what they said, we want to take testimony from the people that live in the city. It was very unusual because the first person up, a pastor, was from Anaconda, and they let him speak.
All right.
And then the sixth person that was pro was a woman from Anaconda, and they let her speak. The other thing that I noticed was I listened to this, and going back to the survey, the one that did the survey was the Global Strategy Group. They they do strategy. It's not that they just did a survey. They organize the group. They train them in what to do. They get involved with the media. And if you look at their website, if I can just read this quickly.
So it's kind of an all-in-one social activation group, right?
Right. And here's a quote. The Internet has made it easier than ever before for citizens to become informed and influence decision makers at the community, state, and national level. For many of our clients, this ability can present both opportunities and challenges. Using our 8 years of experience and proven approach, we help organizations of all kinds engage with community.
It's propaganda or us.
It's facilitation. In constructive, effective ways that produce beneficial results.
Wow.
And we help everyone from leaders of Fortune 500 companies to neighborhood groups organize themselves, amplify their voice. And so this was well planned.
Yeah. In case you can't think of it for yourself, allow us to think for you and just carry the sign, would you?
Now, Larry Silverstein, you know him. He was the one with the Twin Towers.
Okay.
Okay, he hired the group. And he, quote him, rebuilding the World Trade Center after September 11 is my life's work right here. When you're dealing with a complex challenge with multiple stakeholders, you need to come up with a plan and execute on many fronts. That's why we hired Global Strategy Group.
Interesting. All right. Thanks, Elena.
You're welcome. Bye.
Appreciate the call. Candy, go ahead, please.
I've not been waiting that long, but I just wanted to make a few quick comments.
I know you were there last night, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I noted that a gun was stolen out of a car, and where did that gun go? See, that's a perfect example right there that didn't go into a citizen's hands that had a right to carry. And, you know, all this has happened under Obama's watch. And what really gets me is this black man thing. He's not a black man. He had a white mother, unless DNA can prove otherwise. But I thought the most poignant testimony was given by a gal named Maria from Russia. And she told exactly how it was in Russia and how she was so glad she could defend herself in America, because one example was she said, you go to the university and you don't know who might be a rapist or something like that. She was telling it like it is. And so I can't see how the city council sat through that testimony without thinking somewhat that we could end up like Russia or other countries that don't allow, personal people to own guns.
Well, the mindset, Candy, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but the mindset that I hear when I listen to the candidates and when I listen to the supporters, it's just basically all our problems will be solved if people just don't have guns.
Yes,
that's all our problems will be over. They'll have to use a hammer or a nail or a whatever.
I think that we're straw manning that side a little bit. I bet you I could get all 7 or whoever supports it up here, and most of them will say that they support guns. They just want the same laws to apply when you go to the arms dealer to apply when you go to a gun show, because they think that all of these guns are being bought there and used illegally and transferred out of state and are causing crime across the United States, and we can't track them because they don't have these background checks at these gun shows. That's their fear. I don't think their fear is believable, but I don't think the fear on the other side that these guys are some kind of crazy communists that are going to take our guns and turn us all into Nazi slaves is rational either.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it could happen here if we aren't careful. And I don't think all Nazi slaves or anything like that. But the thing is they are irrational in their fears because all the statistics that were mentioned and by Hayes too, and other people that sell guns or have guns at their place of business, they're not showing up on the Richter scale as having problems.
Hey, Candy, let me throw something in here edgewise, because I think that some of the statements from some of the defenders of the gun rights bill sidetrack some of the great arguments. Hayes makes some really good arguments because he talks about how difficult it is to go through the background check process or to work with the ATF on getting the papers for it. But then people are right next to him talking about President Obama's skin color for no reason, making him look like an idiot, because that has nothing to do with the case at hand.
Are you saying because I commented?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that you are sidetracking people from the real issue by talking about President Obama's skin color, which has nothing to do with it.
That was just a comment.
That's what I'm pointing out, though. You brought it in the comment that you made on Talkback.
Yes, I just made it now, and because it's aggravating that they say he's black, and that's not the point I was making.
That's exactly the point you said, though. I'm for you because I'm against this ordinance, but I would hate to stand next to you when you're sidetracking the good arguments with this stuff.
I didn't make that point at all last night. What I said was all these shootings seem to be clustered around Obama's presidency, and they have. That's a fact. He was in charge. Was his watch. And the comment about him being black is just a fact.
All right. Linda, you're on Talkback. Hi.
Hi. Hey, you guys. I just want to let you know, I was at the meeting last night, too, for a while, and then I left. It was just kind of hard to sit through that. But I agree with you, Peter, 100%. I think it's probably going to pass, and it's probably going to be 9-2 or something like that. My husband and I were talking about this, and, if they want to do a background check, I guess it's not the end of the world that, they can have a background check. But the thing that I'm really concerned about is the inserting their power, the city council always inserting their power, and they're just so inflated. They just have such an inflated view of themselves.
Well, here's one example. Okay, the city council, if you remember, during the Iraq War, they passed a resolution announcing their opposition to the Iraq War, and I'm going, well,
really?
What good does that do? It did nothing.
Look, I think that a lot of city council people go to city council not because they want to change city council, but they want to get their start in politics because they're going to change the world.
Oh, maybe.
And I think that's what you see here a little bit, is this desire to fix things on a grand scale.
This is like political kindergarten.
But in this instance, and in many other instances with this city council, I think the problem is you see people trying to fix things at the greater level,
right?
And hurting the local level in the process, for really just messaging. Because this ordinance, if it goes through, yes, we've heard, I don't know if it's true, but the gun show says they won't be able to operate out of Missoula anymore. So you've lost that traffic in here. We might lose a little bit there. It probably won't change the way of life for most Montanans because you can just go to Ravalli County's gun show or Superior County or some other area to do exactly the same thing you were doing before. The only thing it'll do is directly take those people and that operation out of Missoula, or at least hamper the operation.
Yeah. Well, I know that, I know there's people that I have talked to that are furious over it and think that there probably will be a lawsuit that follows.
Oh, we'll see. Well, sure. There are some that said that they are already proceeding as if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I've heard that. And I've also heard it from people who have plenty of money to do it.
Yeah, okay.
And so there's not going to be an easy, if it comes out with a lawsuit, who pays for that in the end? Who pays?
We do. What we do is we give our money to the city. The city gives it to the lawyers. The lawyers support those same city managers to run for office again. More than 10%, I believe, of Mr. Engen's pay before he was when he was running, the campaign donations, I should say, not his pay, came from law firms.
I know it, and it's infuriating because if you own a home and you have to pay property taxes, you feel it.
Boone
and
Carlberg being one of them, by the way.
And if you have rentals, the renters feel it because we are raising our rent on our rentals because of our taxes.
Oh yeah, well just wait until you have another $158 million to pay for.
Oh, I know. I want to move. Really, I seriously. I know I've lived here all of my life. I'm a second generation Montanan, and I feel terrible because I feel like I have to move.
It would be,
and
really,
I love it here.
Yeah,
I love it here.
It would be really interesting to see. And again, I'm not trying to make anybody not vote for the school mill levy. If you really feel you want to do it, go ahead. But I'm really interested
Wait till
to see.
Have to pay for it,
well,
though.
no, if this passes, I would be really interested to see the statistics of how many homes in the city limits go on the market almost immediately afterward.
Ours is going on the market in the spring. Yeah, right. It's serious. Yeah, we're not going to keep doing this.
All right. Well, thanks for the call.
Thanks.
Have a great day, ma'am. Barry, you're on Talkback. Hi.
Hey, morning, guys. How's it going?
Good. What's up?
Just a little comment about something John said just a few minutes ago. John, you intimated that you didn't believe there was much credibility in the argument that there was actually a move underway to confiscate firearms. And I want to direct you to comments that both our current president and Hillary Clinton have made recently about how the Australian model is something that we should consider.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think on that level.
That was flat out confiscation. They call it a mandatory buyback, but that is confiscation.
Yeah, mandatory means confiscation. You're right about Australia for sure.
Yeah, I also want to point out that just yesterday, I believe the court in New York upheld the SAFE Act of that state, which restricted magazine styles and sizes and mandated.
But let me do something that I want to point something out to you. You sound absolutely rational. And you used as your example Australia, also very rational and current. That's a great example. Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia, not as good examples.
I didn't bring those examples
I know you didn't. I know you didn't. And that's why I'm praising you for using a modern current example. Yeah, because anyway, I think the intents of a lot of these, I guess a lot of people would call gun grabbers, is more along the line of what Australia has.
And crime went up in Australia immediately following that.
Imagine that.
Yeah. But anyway, my feeling was when I heard you say that, it was like, we need to be aware of what's going on now, and there's definitely more of a push now.
Sure. Well, I guess what I want to. This is my point. I think it's dangerous when any political side makes a straw man out of the arguments or the positions of the other side. And a straw man argument in debating terms is basically a fake caricature that you can easily destroy and say, well, you believe that everybody is evil and they should all die. No, I never said that. I never believed that for one moment. That was not my position. Well, that's what I'm going to defeat right now on stage, and everyone's going to clap for me because they agree with it too. Well, it's not healthy for debate. If it were in a real debate, people would point it out quickly, and it's not healthy, I don't think, for democracy. On the other hand, when you take a point and say, as you mentioned, that we should consider the Australia model, and they have said stuff like that, and Australia really does have a mandatory gun buyback program and very little guns on the loose in Australia or in the private hands in Australia because of that model. That's a real-world example that isn't hyperventilating over the facts.
Right. I get the straw man thing. I've heard enough Obama speeches to understand exactly what the straw man argument is.
He should have really good education on that from him.
Yes. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Barry. Thanks for the call. Patty, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Well, hi. And, John, you said that there was a thread through my conversation. No, it was a fact. You didn't listen.
I listened. I said you were leading. No, you were laying.
Your radio station reported that ISIS.
I wasn't saying that you lied. Listen.
Wait a minute.
Hold on, really quick. First of all, you're not on topic. But second of all, I said that you were laying a thread of argumentation. I wasn't saying that it was a bad line of argumentation or a false line of argumentation.
Oh, okay. Well, ISIS has $356 million worth of our weapons. I wonder if we gave them background checks before we handed them over.
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and America, whatever you do, don't give up your weapons because you can talk about strong men and liberals, and that's what they want. They want us liberals and conservatives. No, we're all American citizens. We all love our country. Our families have paid lots of taxes, not people that have come in. Like, I'm not going to mention any groups that are known to be criminal elements. Why does the State Department let them in? Why are these people that are known to be criminal elements, like the ones from Cuba that came right out of the mental institution and dropped them off in Florida years ago? We better keep our guns, because when it comes to someone breaking into your house, you have no defense.
All right,
What?
Patty?
You're going to throw a vase at them or your TV controller?
Patty, we got to get some more folks on. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it. Go
Got
ahead.
a comment from Bill on Facebook. He says, it's ironic at best to complain about the moms group being an out-of-state propaganda group at the meeting, also attended by the NRA. By the way, I'm not in favor of the ordinance. Just so you know, the whole point about who was from where was brought up by city council when the NRA guy took the stand. She pointed out that he was from California and not from Montana.
Right.
So people are kind of responding here, Bill.
John, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, to the off-topic that John pointed out that Patty was off-topic by mentioning ISIS, I believe you said, John, or Peter said, you don't have to talk about this topic.
No, she's not.
Whatever you like.
It's a good point. She was referring to this is why it's troublesome, is because she's referring to an episode we had like a week ago, more than a week ago, and no one was probably knew exactly what conversation she was responding to.
Okay, well,
so for background, in less than 3 minutes at the end of the show, it's kind of hard to get into.
Yeah, I ascertain that you're very concerned about the image of the show, and I guess it's just sort of a messy show sometimes.
Sure.
But such is the nature of Talkback.
You notice I didn't take her off the air.
I am a radio slob and proud of it.
Amen.
Thanks for the call, man.
So I'm not done.
Okay.
I may
Go
continue. That it seems that you bolstered Candy's that you were attempting to bolster Candy's argument by pointing out the weaknesses in it with her reference to Obama's color, and I wasn't sure about why she made that either. But I recollected after thinking about it for a second, and that in my mind it brought back all the black violence and how that was one of the main pushes and impetus for removing guns was that the blacks were picked on, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, in big cities and things where they're or targeted.
Yeah,
and talking about the Black Lives Matter movement.
And of course, with 3 minutes left in the show, we're getting into a maelstrom of topics here.
I'll wrap it up. The whole thing can be encapsulated in the idea that Rush Limbaugh points out so often is if you understand the psychology of the liberal mindset, then you understand where they're going to go on any particular subject matter. So, in that sense, it is relevant to talk about what it is that liberals think and their psychology on those matters, and they don't always make sense.
Okay, we got to run. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Marilyn, we have 2 minutes. Go.
I totally understood where Candy was coming from on that because this president is a revolutionary Marxist. It's been well documented in many books that have been written about him, and he's stirring this all up. So another point that I was going to make was that the governor in Virginia, which I can't remember his name, it was on the news the other day that he's going to do an executive order that's almost word for word as this deal that the Missoula city wants to do. And
apparently Terry McAuliffe is his name.
Okay. I read a book years ago called Unintended Consequences. From what I understand, it's a collector's item now. You can't even get it. But it tells the history of after Prohibition, there was so many non-compliance or idled Prohibition agents that they needed something to do. So they started passing some obscure federal gun law, and I mean, there's lots of history of how they've been coming after our guns. And I remember Kitty Wursman when she came to talk to us here in Missoula. She was a survivor of the Nazi Holocaust, and the last thing she said after a very stirring speech was that, America, hold on to your guns.
All right, thanks for your call.
Thanks so much.
You can buy Unintended Consequences for about $30 online.
Dave, 30 seconds, then we're done. Go.
Yes, it is stupid to think that the city can prevent anyone from getting a gun. I mean, if they want it, they'll get it.
Amen, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. All right, that's going to do it, folks. That's all the time we have. What's coming up on tomorrow's fabulous radio program, Mr.
We have
King?
the political science department. We're going to be talking about domestic politics, so lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, all right. So hope you'll join us for that. And again, thank you all for your comments. You guys were great, as always. We appreciate it. That's what this forum's all about. And sometimes, as they said, we get a little bit messy.
Yeah.
But that's life.
Sometimes we're wrong.
Sometimes my shirt is untucked on the air. Anyway, you guys have yourselves a great day.